Welcome to our daily Bible devotions. We have established yesterday the need for extra biblical sources or outside sources to prove the reliability of the Bible. And when it comes to proving the reliability of the Bible, specifically of the New Testament, or looking for extra biblical sources for the historicity of Jesus Christ or the Jesus of Nazareth, then one name comes to mind, and his name is Flavius Josephus. So, who is Flavius Josephus? Let me tell you his story. This is what happened in AD 66 or 66 AD. The Jews in Palestine initiated a revolt against Roman rule that, of course, the Romans did not appreciate. Well, of course, the Romans wanted to have a peaceful invasion of all provinces and nations during that time. But in the province of Judea, the Jews were actually rebelling or resisting this peaceful rule. Now, the Roman emperor, sent troops led by General Vespasian to squash the Jewish rebellion and regain control of that area infested by resistance. In 67 AD, General Vespasian, laid siege to the rebel town of Jotapata in Galilee. In the 47th day of that siege, a young Jewish revolutionary chose to surrender to the superior Roman army, the obvious superior Roman army because of the legions and the weapons, rather than commit suicide. So he had a choice whether to commit suicide or to surrender. He chose life and he surrendered to the Romans. Now, it's something that his countrymen did not choose. Others chose to commit suicide rather than to surrender. Not this man, Flavius Josephus. That young man won favor with Vespasian and was later taken to Rome by General Titus, Vespasian's son, after Titus destroyed Jerusalem and the Jewish temple in 70 AD. That young man, Flavius Josephus, ultimately became the greatest Jewish historian of his time. Josephus began his historical writings in Rome while serving as a historian for the Roman Emperor Domitian. It was there that he authored his autobiography and two major historical works. One of those works is his now famous, the Antiquities of the Jews, which he finished in about AD 93. In Book 18, Chapter 3, Section 3 of that work, Josephus, who was not a Christian, take note, he was not a Christian, and even though he is of Jewish descent, he turned into paganism and actually abandoned Judaism. Now, he wrote these words in Book 18, Chapter 3, Section 3 of his work. At this time, which is in context the time of Pilate, there was a wise man who was called Jesus. His conduct was good, and he was known to be virtuous. And many people from among the Jews and the other nations became his disciples. Pilate condemned him to be crucified and to die. But those who had become his disciples did not abandon his discipleship. They reported that he had appeared to them 3 days after his crucifixion and that he was alive. Accordingly, he was perhaps the Messiah, concerning whom the prophets have recounted wonders. Now, that wasn't Josephus' only mention of Jesus. Now, actually, I've read the book of Josephus, not in entirety, but if you will get your hands on the Antiquities of the Jews, you will realize that there were so many people during that time named Jesus. That's why it's important to clarify that you're talking about Jesus of Nazareth. Now, Josephus talked about many Jesus, but this one, the quote that I read to you, specifically referred to Jesus of Nazareth. Now, in another passage from the Antiquities, Josephus revealed how the new high priest of the Jews, named Ananus the Younger, took advantage of a gap in Roman rule to kill James, the brother of Jesus. It was AD 62 and the Roman governor Festus died suddenly in office. 3 months elapsed before his successor, Albinus, could get to Judea, allowing ample time or enough time for Ananus to do his dirty work. Josephus describes the incident this way. Festus was now dead, and Albinus was but upon the road. So he, referring to Ananus, the high priest, assembled the Sanhedrin of the judges and brought before them the brother of Jesus, who was called Christ, whose name was James, and some others, or referring to companions, I believe. And when he had formed an accusation against them as breakers of the law, he delivered them to be stoned. So here we have not only another first century reference to Jesus, but confirmation that he had a brother named James, who obviously was not well liked by the Jewish authorities. So could it be that this James was martyred because he was the leader of the Jerusalem church, as the New Testament implies? Now, if you will read New Testament, you will read about James, the leader of the Jerusalem church, and you can connect that with this extra biblical source written by Josephus. Now, actually, there are more extra biblical sources giving reference to Jesus, and these sources, we consider them as unbiased documents. Unbiased how? Unbiased why? Unbiased because they don't have a stake in the things that they're writing. For example, I mentioned earlier that Josephus even abandoned his Jewish religion. He's not even a Christian. And when he wrote about these things, he was writing this as a report. He was talking about what these people, these believers, these disciples of Jesus called Christians, what they believed. He was not talking to them, promoting them. He wasn't even promoting them. It was very objective. Now, these unbiased documents, there were many others, you would see that they would point to Jesus as a person who walked in history. Like normally, objectively, in the same way that you would refer to a politician like the president, the senator, the congressman. He talks to them that way. And then he's not even bringing forth his judgment about Jesus. He was just reporting it as it is, as the title of his book suggests, the Antiquities of the Jews. Now, he was giving an elaborate history of the Jews, and consequently, when he did that, because Jesus is part of Jewish history, you can find him there. Now, that shows the historicity and the authenticity of the life and ministry of Jesus. Now, Josephus did not mention, of course, whether those things are correct or true, because as I mentioned, he was stating it objectively. But the beauty of that is that his writings were unbiased. We will explore more tomorrow.